Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club podcast, where every month we pick a new topic to deep dive and talk about. Sometimes it's a genre, director, or actor, but we always have fun at the Film Club. This month we're talking about romantic comedies. This week we're talking about
Warm Bodies.
I'm Dean.
I'm Boo.
And welcome to the Film Club.
Welcome to the Film Club. Welcome to the last episode of Romantic Comedy Month.
Yeah, we're doing Warm Bodies today, directed by Jonathan Levine, starring Nicholas Hoult, Teresa Palmer. Also, Dave Franco and John Malkovich are in it, and it's
Rob Corddry.
Rob Corddry's in it, who kind of steals the show.
Oh, yeah. The movie's celebrating its 10th anniversary this month, and the book's also celebrating its...
It's like 13-year anniversary?
13-year anniversary, yeah. But we gotta talk about a horror film.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got a long way till Halloween.
We do, and I mean, what better way to celebrate almost Halloween than with Warm Bodies?
And I didn't think Warm Bodies was a popular film, because I remember it being marketed 10 years ago, and I thought, oh, this looks kind of neat, but it's, it's sort of like, obviously, like a very romantic comedy premise and all that stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever, and I thought it didn't do well, which I was wrong. This movie did really well, and I saw it like, new 10th anniversary special edition of Warm Bodies at like Target the other day. And I was like, really? Really? This little movie is actually still like sticking around. It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, I remember the marketing team for this movie was great because there were just advertisements everywhere. The bus that I took every day to school had a big R poster there that I wanted to steal from the bus stall, and I'm like, can't do that, boo. But one thing I did remember, because this is our second time recording this episode, we unfortunately lost the first audio track.
Yeah, and,
but,
it happens.
It happens, but, redoing my notes, I had remembered that during the marketing of this movie, they actually made promotional Valentine's Day cards.
Those I remember.
You remember those?
Because I remember around that time, people were, like, sending out Valentine's Day cards. And granted, this is also... comes out in 2013, so that's kind of at like that height of that zombie craze that happened.
We got The Walking Dead.
There was a bunch of new like video games coming out around that time. I think the Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2 was out around that time. Dead Rising was already a big thing.
Z Nation.
We had a very big uptick in people just digging the hell out of zombie media in like that, post 2008, pre 2014, 15 era.
Yeah, and, I was thinking about these Valentine's Day cards that I haven't thought about in 10 years, and I was trying to remember who gave them away, because I went to go see this at AMC when the movie came out, and I was like, well, that kind of does sound like something AMC would do, but I don't remember that, so I had to Google it. It was Hot Topic.
Of course, yeah. Also, yeah, that's another thing. Like, Hot Topic was getting really, really big around this time, right?
Well, I mean, Hot Topic's always been big, but it was a thing where, whatever the hot movie was, you could get the cards or a poster.
The t-shirt.
So, I found the marketing for that, and it was, if you come in and get this R t-shirt, and I was like, that's right, I do have an R t-shirt somewhere at home.
Of course you do.
I do.
Okay, so I take it that you are of the group of people that loved this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Really love the movie. I love the book. Book came out in 2010 by Isaac Marion, and I read the book before the movie.
Okay, because that's an interesting thing. I didn't know it was based on a book until after I, finished the movie. Mm-hmm. And it got me thinking about it, because I'll start with this, because this is the first time I've seen it, well, second time since we had to re-record.
Yeah.
But I thought, the movie was fine. It wasn't, bad in any way. The actors do an admirable job. It's, it's just very basic.
Yeah.
It's Romeo and Juliet with zombies. Which reminds me, I should tell people what the movie's about.
Yeah, let's break out the back of the box.
Alright, I got the back of the box right here. After a zombie falls in love with a young female survivor in this dystopian world, their strange love sets in motion a sequence of events that might transform the entire lifeless world, if only they can survive long enough to see their love through. And there's the things that happen in the movie. There's a lot of lore going on. There's zombies turn into bonies. The survivors live in this giant walled off city that seems to be doing fine.
Yeah.
John Malkovich runs the place, so...
He's a colonel.
He's a colonel, good for him. And it's Romeo and Juliet, but Romeo's a zombie.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I got out of the movie watching it was, this is a very paint-by-numbers movie. It's very, like, we're doing all the romance beats, we're doing all the tropes, romance tropes, zombie tropes. And I'm wondering, is that the same with the book? Is the book like those zombie, Pride and Prejudice books where it's, it's Pride and Prejudice, but we power word killed everything into zombies?
No. The book's not like that where, it's... She was left on the moors. Like, no, the book is very...
I don't mean that. I mean, like, is the book literally like we're just doing Romeo and Juliet, but we're changing Romeo, Capulet, or Montague into... Yeah, Romeo Montague into Romeo Zombie. Like, is it just one of those?
No. The book's very similar to the movie. There's some things that have been altered from the book to the movie, but going off of a book that I read 10 years ago, to the best of my recollection, it's pretty similar to the story that we have here.
Okay, because the only thing I really got, because I didn't do a deep dive into the book, because I just wanted to know, like, something really basic, because I know R in this, R's our main zombie boy.
Played by Nicholas Hoult.
Yes, and I noticed that right off the bat was, R in the book is a middle-aged zombie man with a red suit or whatever, or red tie.
Red tie, yeah.
And in the movie, they're like, no, we're going to have him played by dreamy Nicholas Hoult. We're going to get this middle-aged zombie out of here.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that I find kind of interesting, that they are really directing this at a very teenage, like, audience,
I mean, this is around the same time that the Twilight movies are still in theaters. It's by Summit Entertainment, so it's the same studio that Twilight was coming out of.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
This is the same time of, like, Maze Runner, like, all these, like...
Divergent
movies. One. Yeah.
Was the first Hunger Game movies out by now?
I think so. So it was a lot of movie-based books. Or, sorry,
they were
book-based movies.
They were doing the thing where, right after Harry Potter, like, blew up and took over the world, they're like, we need to find another, like, teen book series that has a built-in audience so we can, like, launch it. And this, I'm kind of surprised didn't launch a franchise.
Yeah, well, I mean...
I thought it did horrible. I thought this movie bombed like crazy, and I see the box office here, right?
Yeah.
The budget's like $35 million, which, okay, this has a lot of CGI in it, it's for whatever, sure. The box office was like $120 million.
Yeah.
That's good numbers. That's good investment numbers for this.
I was there opening day for this movie.
Fucking really?
Yeah, I was there. Hey, if I see the trailer for something, I will try to get as much information on it, read what I have to read until I can finally get to it.
Yeah, you obsess.
I obsess. So, yeah, I was there opening day. Yeah, it was a big deal. Even opening day first screening, there was a lot of people in it.
I find that kind of fascinating about this movie. Because for me, I was like, granted, I'm a, 20-something-year-old man, and I'm like, it's like, okay, it's fine. I don't know how it hits, like, teenage Dean, if I'm like, oh man, that Teresa Palmer, she's so cute. Oh, that Nick Holt, he's so dreamy. I don't know how that hits me.
I feel like teenage Dean would have been, wow, John Malkovich, he's so handsome.
Oh, God. That's, okay. Do we want to talk about the cast here? Because...
Oh, yeah. We have a great cast in this movie, even though it's not a big cast.
It's a big cast of extras, but it's a pretty tight cast of, like, people who matter.
Yeah.
But I want to start with John Malkovich here, because, if we're talking with people with the least screen time, I'm convinced he has less screen time than Dave Franco, who dies 20 minutes into the movie. I'm convinced.
From what I remember, it's pretty similar to the book, where you don't really see Julie's dad that much. She makes a point of, he's gone for periods of time, so it's kind of like, you're empathizing with her, where it's just, she's lost her mom, but in the same regard, she's kind of also lost her dad, because he's full-blown, zombie hunter.
Yeah, and I just bring it up because, one, like, it's John Malkovich. John Malkovich is a very good actor.
Yeah.
But there's one problem with John Malkovich that I think comes up often in his work, is that I can never buy him as a a not evil person. This happened in Con Air, where I see Cyrus the Virus, and I'm like, yep, that John Malkovich, you're definitely the bad guy here.
Yeah.
I saw him in a movie called Mary Riley, which he's supposed to play Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and there's no moment in there where I'm like, oh, Dr. Jekyll? He probably doesn't eat people. But in this, I'm like, I get it, he's supposed to play, like, the disapproving father. That's the role he's playing, other than military leader. But at no point I'm like, John Malkovich is going to ghost R, right? Like, even if he was like, oh no, sir, I'm not a zombie, I'm a normal human being, John Malkovich, he might still cap his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Julie makes a point of it where she, pushes him away from the window. She's like, he would have taken your head off. And it's just like, it could have been some nice guy that, saved her from the zombies. And he's just like, can't trust you.
Right.
I mean, even when...
brings a whole new meaning to, it's like, don't date my daughter or I'll shoot you.
Well, I mean, he even makes a point of it with her, I mean, we're going to jump around in this episode. But, when she comes back from being away for a while, she's like, oh... Dad, let me give you a hug. And he's like, that's nice. I've been worried, but, are you infected? And she's like,
I just want to know. I just want to know, honey, as he's polishing his pistol. Just let me know if you've been infected, honey. I'll make it quick, painless,
Take one more step. You're going to see what happens. And she's just like, I've been gone for days.
John Malkovich is the definition of fuck around and find out in this movie.
Very much so.
But I bring it up because John Malkovich, he's in this movie for 10 minutes, right? Because the movie very much...
I didn't count the number of Malkovich minutes.
I'm not being... Yeah, Malco minutes. I'm not accurate with Malco minutes. But I bring it up because he's in the movie not very long, right? Because in the movie focuses very heavily on Nicholas Hoult and Teresa Palmer and their interaction, right? Yeah. And the rest of the cast is... They're there. They're doing, like, good jobs. Like, no one really stands out other than... Rob Corddry, who I think
he steals the show.
Yeah, steals the show, which is funny because in other movies he was in at this time are like Hot Tub Time Machine, where he plays like, oh, I'm the funny asshole of the party, right? And in this, I'm like, he has like depth and range. You like feel sympathy for him, and I'm like, you're an actual actor? Like, when did this happen? He steals the show for me in this, but what did you think about the cast? Because we still got, our leads to talk about.
Yeah, we've got our leads. Nicholas Hoult, who's been in a lot of movies and shows.
I mean, he started acting when he was, what, like 10?
I'm gonna guess that's how old he was. He was in About a Boy with Hugh Grant. He was in X-Men. That was something you asked me in the first recording. He actually did X-Men before he did this movie.
That's weird because Nicholas Hoult. We're not on first name basis yet.
I know it's like you're friends with him. Like you just saw him at the Super Bowl party.
I know. Nicky Hoult here.
Jesus
he has always struck me as one of these actors that is like a really good like character actor. Like I think you can put him into pretty much anything, and he can just kind of roll into stuff.
He is fantastic in The Great. I mean, he's in Mad Max Fury Road.
Yes, he's great in Mad Max Fury Road. But it's one of those things where, for me, I've never seen him as, like, a leading man kind of thing, but he's really good in an ensemble, or he's great as, like, you throw him into, like, I'm only in the movie for 5 minutes, but I'm gonna make those 5 minutes count. He's great in that stuff.
I can't wait to see him in the Menu, the new movie that came out this year.
Oh, God. I've heard mixed things on that movie.
Same, but I want to see because he is such a good actor that I'm willing to watch the movie.
He's also paired with Anya Taylor-Joy in that.
He is, but what I'm really looking forward to is Renfield this year.
Yes, him and Nicolas Cage, which would just be lovely.
That is the dream.
But that's the thing, like, for me, like, this is the first time I think I've seen Nicholas Hoult as a leading man. And I think he does really well in this. And opposite Teresa Palmer, who we looked this up, she has been in very, like, few big movie things. Like, I think her biggest thing before this was that, like, teen superhero movie, I Am Number 4.
Yeah, she was in that movie, Take Me Home Tonight, Wish You Were Here. So she's done a lot of, like, sci-fi, a little bit of horror.
She was in stuff that was like those, like teen action movies, teen sci-fi movies,
A couple
right?
years after this movie, she was in Hacksaw Ridge. She was in, I really love this show, A Discovery of Witches. Mm-hmm. Really good show.
But Teresa Palmer.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just bringing it up because both of them, for the most part, watching them in this, I'm like, you guys are doing really well. Like, you guys actually play off each other really well.
They have really good chemistry.
And it surprises me more and more as them watching the movie the second time. How did this not have, like, a sequel? How did this not have, like, a short-lived sci-fi original TV show? Or something like that? Because,
I think they ended the movie pretty well, where it's just, healing has begun, and for the Bonies, there was no redemption for them. But for the zombies, they kind of found that there was something worth living for. And I think that's why they don't really need, a spin-off or a sequel, because the world has begun healing itself, they have each other, and that's it. I think, if they really wanted to do a spin-off or something, they would have to do, like, a prequel show to show, when the apocalypse began and, lead it off where we get to the airport.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it just struck me as the movie's going on, because our actors in this are all really good. They all seem to be, like, pretty game.
Yeah.
So I just found it kind of fascinating that just never happened. And the other thing about the actors in the movie is, they're none of them are giving, Oscar, Daniel Day-Lewis, performances here. They're doing, like, really good for what they're given, which is Romeo and Juliet with zombies.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Nicholas Hoult has the biggest task in this movie, because he has to play, instead of a dying man, a dead man coming back to life.
Yeah, and I like how the movie works as it's going through, because we're watching Nicholas Holt's R slowly come back to life, and it's reflected in the makeup that's going on, in his design, in mannerisms, because at first he's a very shambly, stereotypical, George Romero zombie, and by the end of it, he's like moving around like a normal person. His skin starts off as pretty much white, white, pale, nothing. And then as the movie goes on, he gets more color.
You get blue veins and, blood spatter, and it's just, no, you're getting more humanistic from him. Mm-hmm. And I really credit that to him, not only with, of course, the makeup artists that are transforming him on the daily, but he also based his character off of Edward Scissorhands. Mm-hmm. So it's just this kind of...
one of your favorites.
One of my all-time favorites, of course. But just, seeing that this person that's not really a person, but he's becoming a person again, so it's just kind of confusing, but when you watch the movie, you see it and you're like, I get it.
Yeah. It's a thing where the movie's not trying to trick you.
No.
It's very much like, hey guys, there's not a lot of twists, there's not a lot of turns, we're a very straightforward movie. Even its themes and its messaging is very, straightforward to the point. Love conquers all.
Love heals all.
Love heals all. You can trust people even if they look different from you. In this case, you can trust a zombie. It's fine.
And I love the parallels that they make to zombies and humans, where we have R, explaining what it's like to be a zombie, and when they go out to go eat, he goes, yeah, everyone and their grandmother's trying to shoot at us, so that's why we travel in packs, because you'd be afraid if someone was aiming at your head all the time. And it's like, you see the parallel with humans and zombie movies or shows. They travel in these huge groups because, you have to have someone protecting your back on the go.
And I think that's an interesting thing about the movie, is that it's kind of going out of its way to explain its lore, because its lore is different than a normal zombie movie.
Yeah.
Because R is, like, sentient. And for the most part, I'm of the opinion that most of the zombies are aware and sentient and kind of get that they're zombies. Mm-hmm. And, like, eating people, that's just, like, what they do.
Yeah.
But they have, like, personalities and they can, like, understand things, which in traditional zombie movies, that's not the case. They're mindless droves of the undead.
Yeah.
And
they're eating machines.
They're eating machines. And the other thing is, if zombies are zombies for too long, they turn into these things called the Bonies.
Yeah.
Which are just CGI skeleton nightmare fuel.
Yeah, and it's an interesting concept that even zombies would lose faith and they turn into bonies. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like in zombie movies and zombie shows when they're just killing machines and that's all they do is eat and they make a cool explosion for whoever's going to kill that said zombie. But in this one, it's like, are they trying to cling on to humanity? Are they trying to pull themselves back to their human side?
I feel the bonies are representative of those who have completely given up on love. Mm-hmm. And I think, because that's what the movie's about. It's about, like, love and falling in love and young love. And all
appreciating the human connection.
Exactly. And I think that's an interesting thing that the movie is doing and why it's setting up its lore, like, out of the gate. It's also a thing where the movie's supposed to be, we've been in a zombie apocalypse for 8 years. And that gets into a very interesting line in the movie when, I believe it's when Julie, Teresa Palmer's character, takes R home for the first time and her friend sees it and she's like, it's so weird, you don't even smell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's some bullshit. He is literally a disgusting undead for 8 years, and he has her boyfriend's brains in his jacket at that moment.
Well, we don't know if he's been a zombie for 8 years.
We know he has her ex-boyfriend's brains in his hoodie for at least a few days.
We do. I mean, I remember that one time you got ramen into your hood on your hoodie, and that thing reeked so bad. I wanted you to throw away that hoodie, burn the hoodie. So yeah, obviously brain, you're gonna smell that.
To explain that, because I think, spilling ramen into my hoodie serves explanation.
Well, I mean, for me, it's normal. That's a normal story to hear from you. But yeah, to our listeners, they're gonna be like, what is he doing?
I was home, I took my hoodie off and set it on my chair, and I am going to grab my bowl of ramen. And as I pick up my bowl of ramen, it sloshes into my hand this piping hot ramen. I think it's about the surface of the sun levels hot. And I just kind of throw it to get it off of my hands.
Yeah.
And it just goes right into my hoodie. And I thought I had washed the hoodie sufficiently enough to get the stank out. Apparently I did not.
You didn't wash that hoodie. You just got the ramen out of there and you're like, okay, well, as good as new.
I washed the hoodie. It just didn't.
That thing smelled like death.
It didn't take for a while, alright?
It took me a while to eat ramen again, because I was so traumatized by that hoodie.
It was just, it needed to go through the wash 2 or 3 times instead of the one I thought was good enough. But we're warm bodies.
Yeah, I mean...
He got ramen in his hoodie. I can't imagine the lore is gonna be like, totally fine.
Brain doesn't smell.
Brain doesn't smell. Also, the brain thing is interesting. Because they explain why they want to eat brains.
Yeah, it's not like...
Return of the Living Dead, where it's like, we eat brains because zombies, brr.
Or The Simpsons, when they're after Homer trying to eat his brains, and they knock on his head, and they turn around, brains!
Yeah, they eat brains because it gives them flashes of the memories.
Of that person's life.
And... it's like, we do it because it makes us feel a little human for a moment. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, that's so sad.
That's heartbreaking, yeah.
Oh, that's like a drug addict. Oh, that's so sad. And it's interesting because the movie is explaining these things, and it's doing it in a way that I find very interesting, and that's why I'm so surprised there's not more to this. Like, I'm surprised there's not, like, another book, or there's not another... Like, there's, like, not a comic book series that explores this lore a little bit.
That's what I had hoped after the movie came out. I thought maybe we're going to get a prequel to the original novel, something graphic novel. Mm-hmm. No, the story just ends there.
Which is so weird. Okay, because I pulled up the IMDb, right? Or not the IMDb, the Wikipedia page here. And it says that there was, like, a sequel that was announced, and that it just... kind of never happened, but it's kind of interesting, because it's like I'm very confused by that, because it seems like it's ripe for more material, even though the plot's like super basic, Romeo and Juliet but zombies.
It's a story that we're taught in high school.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. I might just be repeating myself over and over, but I really wanted to know more about it, and what I got was just, no, this is okay. This is like a 6 out of 10 movie. Like, this isn't bad by any means. It's like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's a little bit above average. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, you get the zombies in the movie that are still kind of stuck in their, this was my human life, I was a TSA agent, so let me, wand you in every time you walk into the airport. So, yeah, the zombies are really complex in this movie. They're not just your run-of-the-mill, oh, got bit, I'm gonna go eat every person that I could find. We're done. End of movie. It's like, no, they start coming back, and it's just, okay, I want more. And yeah, I'll fight the bonies. That's cool.
Yeah. So, where else did you want to go with this one?
I think we have to talk about the music in this movie. Because the music is off the charts. I mean...
Now I'm going to have to try and remember the music on this, because...
I mean, we start with John Waite's Missing You. We have Guns N' Roses. We have Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen. We have M83, Midnight City. That just really dates this movie.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes.
The soundtrack in this is very interesting because R, on a thematic level, R is, collecting vinyl records that he finds in the world, and he brings them back to his little...
Because R is awesome.
Pad. Yeah, R is awesome. He's a hipster. And he's playing, these vinyl records, and he's playing music. And Juliet finds that... Or Julie. Juliet finds Romeo's taste in vinyl very interesting, right? Because, music is kind of like this thing where that's
that's part of the early stages of talking where, oh, you like this band? I like that band.
Well, yeah, in a dating scenario, but also, music is a thing where, there can be somebody who can create a computer, no matter what happened, but there's no one who could be, Bach. Music is a very, human, soulful, thing, mm-hmm. Music is, a very, people thing, Yeah. Humans make music. Robots don't make, music.
Yeah.
And
Nor zombies.
But our being, connected to music in this way is, that's another signal that he's different than mm-hmm. everything else, that he still has this spark of humanity in them. And I think that's an interesting thematic thing. And also, when the music being I'm Missing You as one of the tracks, and it's oh yeah, let's just stick that right on the nose there. Well, or his love song stuff going on. It's
the okay. Missing You one, I went back because I had read the music list, the soundtrack, and I was like, okay, I want to see where everything kind of falls into progression. And Missing You is, I think, before he meets Julie. It's when he's alone in the plane, so I think it's just he's missing life.
Yeah, exactly. He's been alone for so long.
Yeah, and I love that once Julie enters the frame, whatever words that he can't express, that's when he changes the song. When he brings her into the plane for the first time, and she's just, completely terrified and not sure if there's more of these zombies on the plane. No snakes. We got zombies on the plane this time. But he puts Patience by Guns N' Roses, and that's when she's just kind of what are you? And it's just, he's able to kind of communicate through song to her.
That's the thing. That's the beautiful thing about music, We use music to say the things we could never really put into words.
Exactly.
And it's a very nice thing. It's a very, romantic thing. And it works in the movie. And it's a thing where it's I really like that, on a thematic level, on, the theming level of the film. Mm-hmm. It's a really good way to work around it.
We get comic relief when they're putting makeup on R to bring him to Julie's dad and Julie's best friend.
They turn on Pretty Woman.
They put on Pretty Woman,
and they're just no, let's.
Julie's that's not funny, and her best friend's yeah, it is funny, but it's I love that he's able to relate to music, that he's a hoarder,
He picks up random junk in the world and takes it back to his honestly pretty rad airplane bachelor plaid.
Right? That's a pretty cool house to have in the apocalypse. Where do you live? That airplane over there.
It probably works for a zombie. As a human, it'd be very, very cramped, There's not a lot of leg room. The in-flight movie kind of sucks, There's only so many bags of peanuts you can eat.
I mean, you love peanuts.
They're nice. They're nice. Nice on a plane. Nice when you're, hanging out. It's good.
Yeah. But I love that, when they have their meet cute moment in the lab, there is a, Oh my god.
It slows down, they catch eyes, and then it starts playing, cheesy music, and it's one of those things where I'm like, this is a parody of what would happen in another movie.
Yeah.
This is a parody moment that's in a real-ass movie.
And then you see before he takes Julie during this moment, she's focused on this snow globe, and you don't really get to see what's in the snow globe, but you do see R, as he's walking by, puts it in his other pocket, because one pocket's for brains, the other one's for treasures. So it's not until they get back to the plane and he goes to, give her some privacy, they kind of zone in on what's in the snow globe. And it's this couple standing on a bridge holding hands. So it's like, okay, so, we're beginning the relationship here. It's like they give you all these tropes, the meet cute moments, the, let's compare music tastes, and even when she's eating for the first time and he keeps staring at her and she goes, man, this date's, not going well. And it's like, dude, it's not a date. It's like...
it's so a date.
Typical, guy mentality. I've got her ex-boyfriend's brains. I could use this to my advantage so I could learn who this girl is.
He's playing every angle, honey.
Mm-hmm.
What he's doing right there, that's the tantamount to Instagram stalking. All right?
Yep.
But, and I think that's just like a funny thing about the movie is that as it's playing out, it's a very on the surface, they're just doing like teenage romance, and it's like, okay, I see why this movie probably hit a lot of people, is that it's pretty much telling the story of the awkward teenage romance that a lot of people went through, and that, it's also just this funny zombie movie. And I don't know, like, it's a movie that I don't think is a great film, this isn't one of those, like, we'll put in the time capsule for 100 years so future generations can see it, but it's a movie I'm like, if it is ever on again, I can use words. If it's ever on again, I'll absolutely give it another watch.
Wow,
it's a fun movie.
That's progress. I mean, your first go, you liked it, but you were kind of on the fence about it, but now you're willing to watch it if it's on TV? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, see, that's the thing. I don't hate movies. Like, it takes a lot for me to just say I'm never going to watch a movie again. I got pretty low standards. But with Warm Bodies, I'm like, no, this is, like, pretty good. Like, there's nothing bad about the movie. It's not even, like, that. It's not even boring. It's mostly just, no, I can see where it's going, but I like the ride. Like, I've been on, Pirates of the Caribbean a half dozen times. I like the ride. I know where it's going. It's still fun.
Yeah. But I do think it belongs in the time capsule.
It belongs in your time capsule?
Yeah, it's just one of these movies where, it might not be on your mind, but when you see the poster or the box, you're like, hey, I haven't seen that in a while, and I watch it, and it's a fun movie, even though it's about the apocalypse and these two people that, one's not really a people anymore and one is, but they kind of, together they make this awesome team and they're able to make the world a better place.
It's a love story.
It is.
Aww.
I mean, we even get the balcony scene in this movie.
That is the moment where because at first I was like, okay, R, Julie K, whatever, and then it got to that scene, I'm like, oh, god damn it, Dean, this is Romeo and Juliet. How the fuck did you not see that?
It took you that long to get that this was Romeo and Juliet?
Okay, because here's the thing. I'm watching it and I'm just, like, trying to absorb the movie, understand, like, what's going on, get my feelings about it, it's fine. But it gets to that moment and then I'm like, oh yeah, of course it's Romeo and Juliet. God damn it, Dean, you idiot. Because he's not called Romeo.
No, he's
and
just
not called Mercutio. We're never told Juliet's last name is Montesquieu or Capulet or whatever. It's just like, okay, her name's Julie, and okay, I kind of get it.
And her best friend Nora wants to be a nurse.
Didn't even cross my mind. Also, that comes out like way later. Didn't even cross my mind. But yeah, so.
And then Perry would be Paris.
I get it. Dave Franco is Paris. It's fine. But yeah, Warm Bodies. What else do we got to say about this movie?
Pulling it back to the balcony scene. Because, at this point, Julia's returned home, and she's talking to her best friend Nora about everything that happened while she was away, kidnapped, because I guess that's not too odd to say that someone was kidnapped by zombies.
I mean, I assume it's the same thing that happened in, like, all those Walking Dead subplots for every season where, oh, we don't know where he is, and then he shows up in the last 3 episodes and be like, don't worry, I survived in the woods off grit and determination and eating my shoelaces or some shit.
Yeah, so we have...
God, I haven't watched Walking Dead in so long.
Yeah, I mean, it really kind of took a turn for me, and I was like, yeah, this show that I used to watch religiously every Sunday, can't do it.
How long did you stick with it? We're gonna get off topic real quick, because I was a diehard Walking Dead guy until, like, I think season 3 when they get to the prison.
No, I stuck around, or...
Stuck around?
I stuck around until after Negan.
Oh, when? That's season, like, 5 or 6?
I think that's season 4 or 5.
Okay, because the Governor is season 3 and 4?
Yeah.
Okay, because I knew... I was in for season 1 because I think season 1 was great.
Oh, season 1 was amazing.
Season 2, I was like, it's just a farm.
But what trouble can we get into on this farm?
Right, and I was like, I dug it. And then
also Herschel. Love Herschel.
Love Herschel. And then I got to the prison part, and I think I watched most of the prison stuff until, like, they met the
governor.
The governor, and I watched some of it, and I was like, I can't keep up with this anymore. Mostly because it was like, it started turning into, like, way more of a soap opera for me.
Yeah, you know? I stuck around a little bit after, you know, Glenn is killed, and yeah, after that I was kind of like, this doesn't really feel like The Walking Dead anymore.
Is it still going on?
No, it just finished, I think.
It just finished?
Yeah, this past year, 2022. I think it just finished. But we're getting spin-offs.
I know we got spin-offs, because there's, like, Fear the Walking Dead, and there's, like, a West Coast version of it.
Yeah, I watched, I think, the first season of Fear the Walking Dead, because it's, it's showing you how the apocalypse begins, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And it's kind of like, it leaves you on the edge of your seat, like, oh man, this is the moment. Nope. Okay. Oh, they're gonna come through that door. Nope. So, it was alright. But I think we're getting, like, spin-offs of Daryl ends up in France. And I'm like, I don't know how that's gonna work.
Rowboat.
The whole way. But we're getting a Rick and Michonne spin-off.
That's...
So it's like, I don't know what direction we're going.
I mean, like, I know this is, like, very tangential to Warm Bodies, but, like, the zombie moment, that's pretty much, like, Walking Dead is the only thing of that zombie moment that just kind of kept on keeping on, right?
I mean,
like, that's a pass by sell by date kind of show.
That was one of the ones that kind of just blew up, where, once it got here, everyone was talking about The Walking Dead. It was similar to when the United States got Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah. And Shaun of the Dead was probably the thing that I really kicked off, like, oh, zombies are cool again, guys.
Zombies can be funny. And, I mean, that's what we get in this movie, where it's, it doesn't have to be this terrifying movie. It could be, oh, there's humor to this. Zombies can be funny. I can laugh at, the antics that they get into.
Which isn't an unoriginal idea. I mean,
no.
Granted, Return of the Living Dead was, like, that's a horror comedy, like, through and through. Yeah, it's a zombie horror, comedy movie. So they've been making, like, funny zombie movies since at least the 1980s. I'd even say, like, Dawn of the Dead has some pretty funny bits in it.
Which one?
Oh, the original, the 1970s one.
Okay.
Also, the 2004 one's also, like, there's funny bits in that movie as well. It's really drawn out to different sections of it, and it's usually just brief moments of comedy, but that's, like, Zack Snyder, he can make a good movie.
But do you have one of the zombies saying, bitches, man?
Again, Rod Corddry steals the show in Warm Bodies. Greatest line in the movie.
That was in our first recording of this episode, where you're like, there was one moment and one line in this movie, I'm like, bitches, man? And you're like, yes!
Because the movie Warm Bodies is funny. It is a comedy. There's funny bits in the movie, but there's only one moment that actually made me, like, laugh out loud, and that was it. And yeah, it's such a, like, funny, just like such a deadpan delivery, such like a like well set up gag.
Because he's being super empathetic to R, who is, heartbroken because Julie's decided to leave in the middle of the night to return back to her home, and R is just kind of, like, aimlessly walking because he doesn't have anything to live for now because Julie's gone. And M, comes looking for him, and they're talking, and he tells her, yeah, she left, and he puts his, hand on R's shoulder, and he goes, bitches, man. And it just completely catches you off guard, but, that's who M is.
Yeah, and it's such a like funny little moment in the movie, but yeah, Warm Bodies. Is there anything else you wanted to get on before we hit our wrap up, or what?
I mean, I'd like to talk more about M, because M is R's best friend, who
played by Rob Corddry, who we've said. Yeah, I had to double check because I just realized. Yes, I have been pronouncing his name correctly. He steals the show, pretty thoroughly, right? Yeah. He's not in a whole lot of it, but every scene he's in, he's definitely like the most sympathetic person on screen, even a little bit more than like R and Julie.
Yeah, and he's also the most empathetic.
Yeah, because there's that moment where he's looking at this picture on the wall and it's these two people holding hands, and you get that flash of like his previous life with like his wife or whatnot. Mm-hmm. I don't even know. He just says something and I'm like, oh, well,
he looks over to the zombie that's next to him, also stopping and staring. I think it's like,
do you feel it too?
Yeah, he asks him, do you feel it too? And it's one of these advertisements for like a cruise. Mm-hmm. And it's something that they've walked past 100,000 times, you know, as long as they've been in this airport. And, you know, right away you kind of see like that E.T. moment where all their hearts kind of light up, and it's like, that was the spark.
Whose favorite movie? E.T.
Yeah, my favorite movie. But you know, just in that moment, you know, after he sees his wife or girlfriend, whoever this woman was, and we get the tear, we also see him, he stands up straight and he adjusts his blazer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, he fixes his blazer, and it's just like, you know, they're coming back. And it's like, I love M because he's the comedic relief that we need. You know, R is the lovesick Romeo in this movie, and he's funny. It's more his banter that's funny, you know. Stop looking at her, you know, you're being creepy.
He's funny because of how like insecure that kind of like young romance is, where it's like, oh dude, don't look at her too long, and that you're just gonna look weird. And it's funny because he's also a zombie, so zombies looking at you, yeah, that's creepy. Yeah. He's thinking, oh, don't look at her too long, it'll be creepy because I'm in love with her. And it's like, yeah, there's layers of funny because he's just being awkward teenager.
Yeah.
M is funny because what he's doing is actually like funny, you know, like Mercutio and Romeo and Juliet. He's the comic relief of that story.
Yeah, and you know, when he's telling R, oh, okay, the Bonies are coming after you, and they're coming after Julie, what do you want to do? You know, this is kind of, you can see Julie again because you got to warn her that these guys are coming after her. And, you know, he's talking to the other zombies, and he goes, okay, the other zombies, they say, fuck yeah. And it's just like these little moments where, you know, well, R's technically still a zombie. He should understand
a zombie speech.
Yeah.
But he's too far gone. He's too human now. The zombies are like, we are rejecting you. You have a pulse now? Oh, you're not part of the cool zombie club.
And I mean, M, you know, he hasn't talked for a long time. He's got to talk to everybody.
It is very funny how the moment M is able to communicate, he will not shut up to anybody. And he's like, hey, how's it going? What's going on, dude? Hey, hi, how's it going?
I love when, you know, R is going to go get Julie, and he's like, okay, I'll wait here. All right. Okay, I'll see you soon. Okay, bye. It was just like, that would be you.
It's like the funniest little bit about the movie with M in it, and that's why I think he steals the show, because he is the most, he knows exactly what movie he is in, and he knows exactly how tongue-in-cheek to go.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it works so well.
Yeah.
But that's Warm Bodies. Final thoughts?
Final thoughts, I love this movie. It's a movie that doesn't take itself too serious. There's a lot of emotion, but there's also a lot of humor, so it really balances itself out. Nicholas Holt's portrayal of R out of the park. I mean, I love seeing...
Your boy Nicky Holt.
Nicholas Holt. I don't know him on a personal level. Not like you do. But yeah, I love this movie. The artistry that it took to put into this movie, 2 thumbs up for me.
I can agree with that. This is definitely one of those movies where I've said it before in this, you know, conversation. It's like a 6 out of 10 movie, or it's like a 3 out of 5. It's like above average. It's not bad. There's nothing wrong with the movie. It's a movie that's very like, you've seen it a million times before. If you like romance movies and you like zombie movies, this is tailor-made for you. Boo. It's tailor-made for you.
It is, yes.
And it's a movie that, watching it, I'm like, no, this is just nice. We just need nice movies, and this is a nice movie. I have no complaints about it. I would give it like 2 thumbs up, being like, it's not bad, and you should watch it. And I'd say if it's on TV or, you have Peacock, it's on Peacock.
It is.
Give it a watch. There's a lot more bad movies you can spend 90 minutes with than Warm Bodies. This is a pretty good movie.
It's a great movie.
Sure, it's a great movie for your Valentine's Day month if you're still, running late to Valentine's Day dinners.
Hey, people are still celebrating. It's the month of love.
But next month...
Well, you're kind of jumping the gun here, because next week is still February, so we're going to do our bonus episode next week.
That's right.
So, we ended on a horror movie, but next week we're ending it on...
a black comedy? A movie that is funny, but is also...
not funny?
Yeah. It's gonna be The Lobster with Colin Farrell,
Rachel Weisz,
and it's a trip, man.
Yeah. Really fun episode. It's with our good friend Alex.
Yeah, he's a movie connoisseur above many movie connoisseurs. Huge fan of a lot of the movies he's recommended to me.
Yes.
This one's gonna be an interesting conversation. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so you guys don't want to miss that. But after that, we're gonna talk about Musical March.
Yes, we're gonna talk about musicals for the entire month of March, and we're gonna start it off with a movie that Dean has technically never seen. Technically, and it's going to be Singing in the Rain.
I don't think you're going to get as much hate as you do from your family that you don't remember watching this ever.
Oh, okay. Because we'll get into it in that episode, but Singing in the Rain is a movie that my mother insists that I have seen before. I have no memory of this, but we'll get into it in that episode. But if they wanted to listen to that, where can they go?
If you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, and YouTube.
Yeah, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That is The Film Vault on YouTube, where we do lovely slideshow versions of this podcast. Maybe video versions eventually. But yeah, go leave a like, comment, subscribe. And if you wanted to follow us on social media, where can they go?
You can find us on Instagram at The Film Club Podcast, where we post daily stories, trivia, upcoming episodes, and our random adventures we go on.
And with that,
we'll see you next week at the Film Club.
Have a good week, everybody.